Following the completion of this public affairs event, the crew has a handful of additional activities for the day, and then they will move into their private medical conference. Again, this is a daily conference with the medical teams on the ground, and then they will have a private conference with the flight control team.
Check, we're at the lowest fan speed allowable.
Jeremy, good check. We can go 1,000 RPM lower if you want.
Give us all you got.
All right, it's in work.
That call from the crew and the Capcom here in Mission Control Houston, which for Orbit 2 is Jenny Gibbons, who is a Canadian Space Agency astronaut, referencing the cabin fan speed. Again, you can see the crew there on your screen as they're getting prepared for that upcoming public affairs event, which will start at 9:45 p.m. Central, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. During this event, the crew will have the opportunity to speak with members of the media and answer questions following their historic flyby around the moon and ahead of their splashdown. Again, that splashdown targeted to take place at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, April 10th, off the coast of San Diego, California.
Integrity, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
From Integrity, we are ready for the event.
NASA Public Affairs Office, please call Integrity for a voice check.
Integrity, this is NASA PAO Courtney Beasley. How do you hear me?
Hey, Courtney, we hear you, but you are very low.
Okay, I will try to talk a little bit louder. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, it's great to see you today. We have a room filled with media eager to talk to you.
Courtney, we have you loud and clear.
Wonderful. We have a room full of media ready to talk to you today, and we also have them on our phone bridge. We have a limited amount of time, so we're going to go ahead and hop straight into questions. We'll start here in the room with Marcia Dunn. Go ahead.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for you, Reed. Could you please describe your emotions when Jeremy called down to Mission Control to ask permission to name a lunar crater after your late wife, Carol? It was a pretty emotional, powerful moment down here.
Marcia, it was a powerful moment up here as well. My crewmates approached me when we were at Kennedy in quarantine, and they said, hey, the three of them had talked and they would like to do this, and that was an emotional moment for me, and I just thought that was just a total treasure that they had thought through this and they had offered this, and I said, absolutely, I would love that. I think that's just the best. And I said, but I can't give the speech, I can't give the talk. And Jeremy, the kind of guy he is, he said he would do it, and it was getting emotional there. And I think when Jeremy spelled Carol's name, Carroll, I think for me that's when I was overwhelmed with emotion, and I looked over and Christina was crying. I put my hand down on Jeremy's hand as he was still talking. It was right there on that rail, and I could just tell he was trembling, and we all pretty much broke down right there. And just for me personally, that was kind of the pinnacle moment of the mission for me. That was, I think, where the four of us were the most forged, the most bonded, and we came out of that really focused on that day ahead. I think that was a very caging moment for the four of us. Thank you for that question, and it was a great moment.
We'll take our next question in the room here from Joey. Go ahead.
Thanks. Joey Roulette with Reuters. I'm curious, Reed, and for anyone else who wants to answer it, how has this mission changed you guys personally and your views of the moon? These photos make it look kind of intimidating and beastly, and just curious to hear your thoughts on how you guys have also changed during this mission personally. Thank you.
I had an opportunity earlier to answer this question from my own perspective, and we have seen just some extraordinary things that I thought we might see. They looked similar to what I thought they might look like, and other things that I just had never even imagined. And those were different perspectives that we saw these things from, but I have to say, it hasn't changed my perspective or the perspective that I launched with. The perspective I launched with was that we live on a fragile planet in the vacuum, in the void of space. We know this from science. We're very fortunate to live on planet Earth. And the other perspective that I've sort of learned from others through life is that our purpose on the planet as humans is to find the joy in lifting each other up by creating solutions together instead of destroying. And when you see it from out here, it doesn't change it. It just absolutely reaffirms that. It's almost like seeing living proof of it.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take one more question here in the room and then head to our phone bridge. If you are on the phone bridge and have a question, just a reminder to press *1. Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, Integrity. It's so wonderful to speak with you. This is Jackie Waddles with CNN. Obviously, there is a huge moment coming up with Reentry. Can you describe your feelings, how you're preparing for that moment mentally and physically? And then as you prepare for the end of the journey, what are some moments that you know that you'll take with you for the rest of your life from this journey? Thank you.
It started off sounding like an easy question for me to answer, and then it got really big. But I guess the entry thing, I'll be honest and say I've actually been thinking about entry since April 3rd, 2023, when we got assigned to this mission. And one of the first press conferences we were asked, what are we looking forward to? And I said splashdown, and it's kind of humorous, but it's literal as well, that we have to get back. There's so much data that you've seen already, but all the good stuff is coming back with us. There's so many more pictures, so many more stories. And gosh, I haven't even begun to process what we've been through. We've still got 2 more days. And riding a fireball through the atmosphere is profound as well. So I have to answer that question later. I'm not sure, but I can tell you it's a lot. And lifelong memories. I'm going to be thinking about and talking about all of these things for the rest of my life, for sure. Yep.
All right, we'll head over to our phone bridge. Our first question there is from Kelly Malone with Canadian Press. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kelly Malone with the Canadian Press. There's a lot of excitement about scientific advancements as a result of the mission. You just spoke about the data, and I know you've spoken about training on robotics in Montreal. What are the takeaways from these missions so far that might be applied to robotics or other international tech efforts in the future? And just a quick personal note for Jeremy. I'm told you got a surprise message from your family. Can you share what it was like to hear from them?
Advancements in robotics?
Well, when I think about the Artemis program in general, we've already seen some investments in pushing robotic technology forward for deep space that we're going to see put to good use in one way or another. And this is the beauty of this program that brings an international collaboration, sets big goals, and doesn't just talk about them, but goes after them and gets it done. We're going to need the advances in robotics. It's really hard out here. We're a long way from home. We've been learning the entire journey. We've been watching Mission Control learn. You do a lot of testing on the ground, but your final test is when you get this hardware to space, and it's a doozy. And our team has just performed. They've just knocked it out of the park, but it doesn't mean it might look easy from the outside. We can tell they are working so hard on the ground to do this, and we really appreciate them. And so when we get these next generation robotics on the surface of the moon and out in deep space, there's going to be some challenges, there's going to be some failures along the way, and there's going to be some learning that happens. On the personal note, yes, I had some videos from all of my family, my 3 children, Devin, Ashley, and Caitlin, and my wife, Catherine. And when you're out in deep space by the moon and you are listening to a video they recorded for you before you launch, that's something.
We all had it so great. Yep.
Okay, our next question is from Micah Maidenberg with the Wall Street Journal.
Hi, good evening. For anybody who'd like to answer, how do you think the flight has contributed to the broader Artemis program? Of course, it's not over yet, but what do you think the crew has already brought to the table for the next couple of missions? Thank you.
Well, I love this question because part of our ethos as a crew and our values from the very beginning were that this is a relay race. In fact, we have batons that we bought to symbolize physically that. We plan to hand them to the next crew, and every single thing that we do is with them in mind. Oftentimes, it's actually easier in human spaceflight, especially on a first mission, to accept some of the things that aren't working quite right or the operational workarounds. And we have actually been diligent to try to fix everything, and we're always thinking from the perspective as what is the next crew going to think about this? How will this help them to succeed? So manual piloting the vehicle, making sure that the procedures and the processes for making everything work are all as they should be. Then there's the human side of it. How are our provisions? How are our food? How is the human system working in here? Taking the time to do all of the developmental flight test objectives that have been scheduled. So both in the vehicle and all in the last 3 years, we've really just worked to make sure that they are set up for success, and that's all of the teams, not just the crew, but the flight control teams, the mission engineering rooms, the launch teams, everyone. We've done our best to bring folks together and to make sure that we can be the best we can be. Obviously, just testing, putting humans in this vehicle is the easy thing to see, and we hope that we've capitalized on that and made it as much as it can be for our time here.
Our next question is from Alex Wilson with the Weather Channel.
Hi guys, thank you so much for your time. You're space experts, yet time and time again we've heard you amazed by things that you've seen on this mission. So what has been the biggest scientific surprise or discovery for you?
The whole mission, truly the whole mission, but we saw really amazing simulations made by our lunar science team about what the eclipse would look like when the moon was 30, 35 times bigger than the sun. But seeing that,
communications, we should be regaining them here.
Houston, we lost your video and handheld mic audio stream. We are troubleshooting.
All right, Jenny, we see the issue, and we're correcting it. We'll probably need about 30 seconds, and then we should be streaming again.
Copy. Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, comm check. How about now? Are we back with you?
And Jenny, how much of Victor's answer did you hear?
Yeah, we have you back, video, and the handheld mic seems to be back up too, and Victor should repeat his answer. Over to PAO.
Okay, the thing that we saw that really surprised me the most is we trained to view the eclipse from the far side of the moon, or after going beyond the far side of the moon. We saw great simulations made by our lunar science team, but when that actually happened, it just blew us all away. I mean, you heard the reaction real time. But it was the fact that we trained for it, and it almost was a thing that we were, I don't want to say unhappy about, but launching on April 1st meant the far side wasn't as illuminated as we were hoping. And so, that thing seemed to be a consolation, and it was one of the greatest gifts of that part of the mission.
Okay, we'll come back here in the room to Andrea. Go ahead.
Hi, Andrea Leinfelder of the Houston Chronicle. I'd like to hear about life inside Orion. Christina, in the fall you said the capsule would feel bigger in microgravity. Does it feel bigger? And at what moments do you find that you're bumping into your crewmates? And what tips will you be given to future crews?
Wow, we have loved living in Orion. And in fact, we've all said that sometimes you can forget where you really are because we're in this small space that just gives us everything we need. But the answer to your question is yes, it is bigger in microgravity. And yes, we are bumping into each other 100% of the time. A phrase that you often hear in the cabin is, don't move your foot. I'm just going to reach for something right under it. Or, can I get there? And my goal is to get over there. And we're constantly moving around, whether it's to complete a task, to just eat, to look out the window, to take a picture. Everything we do in here is a 4-person activity. But it's also really fun.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Will. Go ahead.
Thank you, Will Robinson Smith with Spaceflight Now. It's good to talk with you all. Victor, I want to go to a comment that you made a couple of hours into the lunar observations. You said, and I quote you here, "The Terminator is calling to me." What was it about the observation of the Terminator specifically that was so captivating for you and the rest of your crew? Thank you.
One being 3,500 miles from it. I mean, it was so big, and now it wasn't an image on a screen, but it was all of the things we had talked about in training, the terrain, how you can see features based on how high they are above the surface and how low things were. And there were holes that, craters that appeared to just be endless bottomless pits, and then peaks that seemed to be, I couldn't tell how high, but you could just really get a sense of the relief down on the surface. And to look down on it from so close or over at it from so close was just, it was hard to describe. When you are in an airplane flying back past, Flagstaff, you're looking out the window trying to, identify a meteor crater, or looking out trying to find the Grand Canyon. And this was the same thing. But imagine if you had seen Meteor Crater or the Grand Canyon for the first time.
Our next question is from the phone bridge from Lauren Grush with Bloomberg.
Hi, so great to talk to you for. The world has been watching along with your journey with such enthusiasm and joy. Do you have any sense or feedback of how your mission has reached the masses back on Earth? And does that influence you at all when you speak and narrate your journey?
Thank you for this question. We have had, I'm going to answer it a little bit differently than it was asked, but I'll get there in a second. But we have had a chance, the four of us, we've had 2 opportunities each to have very brief video chats with our families. And I will tell you, first of all, the 4 of us are now forged in a friendship that is very unique, and we will cherish this bond that we share for the rest of our lives. And then one of the neatest things being a crewmate on this spacecraft is not being in the family conference, but hearing your crewmates giggling and crying and just gasping and listening and loving their families from afar. Family is so important to all 4 of us, and that has been amazing. And when I got to talk to my daughters, Ellie and Katie, for the first time, I just couldn't even speak. I was just so overjoyed. I was crying. I mean, it is an amazing experience. But what also came from that is really our source of news on planet Earth. And those family members have been our source of how the mission is going from the public perspective. Obviously, they're all biased. Although most of our kids are teenagers, so maybe they're not quite that biased. But they're biased. But what we had really hoped, and we said it a lot before, I mean, we really are here to serve NASA, to serve our 2 nations, Canadian Space Agency, NASA, and the international community. And we're here to serve for Artemis II. But what we really hoped in our soul is that we could, for just a moment, have the world pause and remember that this is a beautiful planet in a very special place in our universe, and we should all cherish what we have been gifted. And I think for the folks that decided to tune in, and it sounds like it was quite a few, this has happened, and for that we are eternally grateful.
Our next question is from Noah Haggerty with the Los Angeles Times.
Hey, great to hear from you all. You had 40 minutes of a pretty profound solitude. You were, farther from Earth than any humans before you. No means to communicate with Earth. It was really just the 4 of you, the spacecraft, and the moon. Can you talk us through what that moment felt like?
Well, Courtney's running this press conference, and she knows I always speak the truth, sometimes with a little bit of embellishment. But I will tell you exactly as it went. When we watched that Earth eclipse behind the moon, wow, I'm actually getting chills right now. Just thinking about, my palms are sweating. But it is amazing to watch your home planet disappear behind the moon. You could see the atmosphere. You could actually see the terrain in the moon projected across the Earth as the Earth was eclipsing behind the moon. It was just an unbelievable sight. And then it was gone. It was out of sight. And we took a moment here. We had a lot of scientific work to do right there. That was probably the most critical lunar observations for our geology team. But the four of us took a moment. We shared maple cookies that Jeremy had brought, and we took about 3 or 4 minutes just as a crew to really reflect on where we were, and then it was right back into the science. And it is a surreal feeling, but we had a lot of work to do too, and I think that kept our focus. And so it's only come like later, and we still haven't even begun to reflect on this mission. We had a little bit of a light work day yesterday, and we were starting to journal and reflect a little bit. And there's a lot that our brains have to process. Human minds should not go through what these just went through, and it is a true gift. And we have a lot that we just need to think about and journal and write, and then we'll get the full feeling of what we just went through.
Take our last question here in the room. Go ahead.
Hello, Artemis crew. This is Rebecca Morell from BBC News. Now you're almost home. What will you miss most about being in space, and what won't you miss at all?
Well, first of all, thank you for that question. I will miss this camaraderie. I will miss being this close with this many people and having a common purpose, a common mission, getting to work on it hard every day across hundreds of thousands of miles with a team on the ground. This sense of teamwork is something that you don't usually get, like, as an adult. I mean, we are close, like brothers and sisters. 100%. And that is a privilege we will never have again. I have to say, I don't think there's anything I would say I won't miss or that I'm just ready to be over, because this whole thing is a package. We can't explore deeper unless we are doing a few things that are inconvenient, unless we're making a few sacrifices, unless we're taking a few risks, and those things are all worth it.
All right, that's unfortunately all of the time we have for today. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, you have captivated the world through this mission. We're all watching, we're all cheering you on, and we can't wait to welcome you home in a few days. Thanks for joining.
It was great hearing your voice again, Courtney. Take care.
Integrity, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants. Integrity, we are now resuming operational audio communications.